Alright, we're back with DBLC Week 2, back with the Little Cup. Now this week I am a lot more nervous about than I was about last week. I think it's just a worse matchup for me. This team's really scary, especially with the 3 normal resists. Meowth isn't really going to be able to do what it did last week, but it might. We'll get into that a little bit later. But like last time, we'll just kind of go through my opponent's Pokemon, why they're scary, if they're coming, that kind of stuff. So first things first, you got Growlithe. This thing is definitely the scariest thing on the team. Because it gets Rockhead, and it also gets Flare Blitz and Head Smash. So not having to take that recoil is awesome for him. Or, it could also just be Intimidate and then still have those 120 and 150 base power moves. Which, you don't take those very well at level 5. So very scary. Very scary. Not to mention, you can Scarf this thing. It's going to be faster than everything else in the format. Unless you're running something Scarfed yourself. Spoiler, my Scarfer is Starly, so my Scarfer's not faster than this thing. If it's Scarfed, it outspeeds everything, and I am in trouble. We'll put it that way. So, yeah, Growlithe is actually really scary. Hard-hitting Mon. I didn't get to see too much because in the week he played last, he didn't bring it, so I really didn't get... No, he brought it, he never had to send it in, so I don't really have any film of this Growlithe to look at, so that's a little intimidating. Mind the pun. Then we got Marini. Marini is Toxapex, but better. Marini is really good in Little Cup, and Toxapex is kind of bad in Draft League. But what Marini does that Toxapex doesn't is it gets... T-Spikes and Merciless in a very offensive metagame. If you get T-Spikes up with Marini and then you go like Choice Scarf, Choice Scarf with the Merciless, you just rip through your opponent. Fortunately, I do have that grounded poison type in Screlp, so we're going to always pick up those T-Spikes. And I think it's deterring enough to not try and set up those T-Spikes with my team being as offensive as it is. But even still, this thing is also insanely fat, like its older brother. Still gets Regenerator, still gets Recover, and this thing's almost always it's either Eviolite or it's Choice Scarf. So just watch for that speed, and then I'll really be able to know what item it has. But yeah, no, Marini is not fun. Drifloon has 2 different sets, and I really don't know what to expect. I think with such a good Scarfer in Arcanine, I don't think he's going to be Unburden. I think he's going to be Aftermath, because it just does so much damage. And when I have a Pokemon as threatening and as dominant as Meowth, that 25% chip, especially when I'm Life Orb, is big. Meowth's not really going to ever touch this Drifloon because of... We'll get to it later. But, yeah, so I'm not too worried about the Aftermath. I think I've built my team in a way that nothing that's killing this Drifloon is taking that Aftermath chip. So I'm not too worried about it, but it can be a problem if you don't build around it properly. Right, if I Sucker Punch him with Zorua, I'm losing all my health, and then I'm giving away that I'm Zorua, right, because of the chip, and you can always see that later. But that's neither here nor there. Toadschool is really fat. That 100 special defense is kind of ridiculous. It is a lot like Toad's Cruel, right? Still gets spikes, T-spikes, rocks, spin. So really good with hazard. Still has Mycelium Might, right? So if it is that hazard stack variant, it's going to be slower than a bag of bricks. If it is offensive, it is going to be quite speedy. Giga Drain, Earth Power, and that's going to hurt a lot of my team. Dino, now, this thing is kind of fraudulent, in all honesty. I'm not really respecting this thing. It doesn't do anything. Its coverage is nothing like Hydreigon. Well, I say that. it's still pretty good coverage, but like it's not like Hydreigon in the sense it doesn't get Earth Power, it doesn't get Flamethrower. Does it get Flamethrower? No, it doesn't get Flamethrower. Its fire moves are a lot weaker. It doesn't get Flash Cannon, right? Like it doesn't have the same coverage that Hydreigon gets. Also, its attacking stats are like really low for Little Cup. Right, like you're looking at stuff like Apom and Arcanine, and they both have higher attack stats in this thing, and it's just like 65 attack is low. Like, you look at my team, like, I did 87, 80, 68, like, right, these are 65 is pretty low. Especially like a lot of times, I think like Grookey's attack stat is a lot high. Maybe I'm tweaking, but regardless, it's not as high as you think it is. It doesn't hit as hard as you think it is, and it has to run Hustle too. So there's always a chance he misses, which I personally wouldn't take those gambles because I know my luck. Then we have Apom. This thing is not allowed to use Tail Slap. Tail Slap is banned on Apom. Most of the times Apom's banned in Little Cup, but we let it ride. And I'm pretty nervous about it because, it doesn't really get many moves to capitalize on Scale. Like, I don't think it gets any, actually, and the other two have no competitive viability. So this thing's basically running without an ability, but it is still that 19 speed Pokemon, and it has despicable attack stats. 70 attack is ridiculous, and then it gets stuff like Fake Out, Double Edge, and you just kind of have to deal with it, which... I don't know. I'm a little worried about this thing. I didn't bring the Kabuto, which is my only normal resist, so I'm a little worried about it, but we'll get there. Diglett is just fast, and it's an Earthquake user, and this one is Steel type, so it gets a couple extra resists in there, but it's basically just a fast Earthquake user with a decent attack stat. It's pretty much all there is to it. Really simple, but really effective. Makuhita is priority, and it's fat. There's a chance it could be thick fat. I don't know what for. Maybe for a switch hitting against Numel, but it's still taking an insane chip to an Earth Power, so I don't really know what it's doing here. It's probably going to be that Sheer Force, and it's going to be running the Elemental Punches and that kind of stuff. Probably Sheer Force Life Orb. Or Eviolite. I guess sometimes it could be Eviolite, but yeah, it's hard to say. Snubbull is actually a bit of a problem because it is one of the very few fairy types in this format that are viable. There's a lot of fairy types, but like the ones that you're actually going to use are like Rabombi, Tinkatink, Snubbull, and like one other one that I can't remember off the top of my head. So Snubbull's really scary. It gets like ridiculous coverage for some reason. This thing gets everything under the sun. It gets fighting coverage, ground coverage, the elemental punches, psychic, dark. This thing's stupid. Gets intimidate and has decent bulk for an Eviolite user, and an 80 attack stat in Little Cup is ridiculous. This thing's pretty scary. I'm just gonna hope I can outpace it, really. But we'll get to that. And last but not least is Roly-Poly. This is not a real Pokemon. This thing, literally all it does is get hazards, like Spin, Spikes, Rock. Like, it does get 2 hazards and removal, so it is good in that sense, but like, it's not doing anything. Like, why would you ever bring this over Arcanine, who just clicks Rock Head protected Head Smash and just kills everything? There's no reason to ever bring this thing. This is not a real Pokemon. That's my opponent's team. Let's jump into mine. So we're starting with Wingull, like we did last week. Wingull is a problem. It hits almost his entire team. I think the only thing it doesn't hit is Snubbull and Apom. Just Snubbull and Apom. But Apom doesn't have that much defense, and Snubbull does not really like the damage either. I'm opting not to run Shockwave, which you might think, oh, that reduces your super effective coverage, but Air Slash does like the same amount of damage, like a little bit less than Shockwave, and I get Roost now. I thought about putting Eviolite on this thing, but I needed more bulk for other stuff, so we went with Life Orb instead, just for more damage. The Then we get to Skrelp. This is probably going to be my best answer for a Choice Scarf Arcanine. If the Arcanine isn't Choice Scarfed, I can always just go into Wingull, click Surf, and it dies. If it's Choice Scarfed, Skrelp can take one Head Smash, and it can kill with Surf. If it gets Choice Scarfed into Flare Blitz, Skrelp always comes in on that Flare Blitz, takes I think 20%, and then just gets a Surf off into something. It has T-Bolt from Marini, so it doesn't get walled. Once that Arcanine's dead, I can really turn this thing into an offensive threat. Surf, Thunderbolt, Sludge Bomb, hits a lot of his team. Icy Wind hits some other mons too, just kind of a backup for that Dino if it does turn out to be some crazy set that I'm not ready for, or something along those lines. And then Icy Wind's just there for speed control and to hit some of the mons that I can't hit. Then we get Turtwig. I noticed that he has 2 grass resists. Yeah, he has Drifloon and Dino as his only grass resists. Yeah, grass doesn't hit a lot super effectively, but still, just having a strong move like Bullet Seed that hits his entire team pretty much. And then we have Crunch to hit the Drifloon, which I guess this is what's going to proc that Aftermath, but I'm not intending to kill this thing with Drifloon. It's more so or to kill Drifloon with this thing. It's just Crunch, get good chip on it, make it respect me and have to switch out, and then I can take that SD or that Synthesis on the switch out. This thing is built to be bulky and just hit for decent damage on everything. Then we get to Starly. Now, Starly and Meowth are both in the position where there is a good chance he will have 2 normal and flying resists, and that Drifloon, which is a 3rd normal resist. So, one thing you'll notice, my Starly does not have a normal type move. My plan is, once Arcanine and Diglett are dead, is this thing comes in, and it clicks Brave Bird, and it catches a body. This thing is Choice Scarf, so it's faster than everything in the game, except for other Choice Scarf mons with a little bit more invest. But really, I don't anticipate something having more invest, but again, we'll see what happens when we're in the game. Brave Bird, U-Turn are probably the only moves I'm clicking. Steel Wings there, if late game I need to hit the Snubble, because no other coverage is valuable here. And then Thief if I get knocked off or something, and again it's late game or I'm trying to really take away an Eviolite or something. But realistically, this thing's Choice Scarf Brave Birding, and that's about all it's doing. Which it does really well and will hit everything very hard. Then we have Meowth, Life Orb, Fake Out, Feint, U-Turn. But this week we have Water Pulse instead. Gets that, it's not Bubble Beam because Water Pulse gets that Technician boost. And then I've looked at the calcs. It kills Growlithe, and it has a good chance. I think it's an 82% chance to kill Diglett from full. If Diglett isn't Eviolite. Diglett should never be Eviolite because this bulk is atrocious when he has stuff like Marini, when he has stuff like Toadstool, when he has stuff like Drifloon, even with that 90 HP stat, and 44 is not bad. So he has so many better Eviolite users that it'd be a crime to put an Eviolite on this Diglett, and having that 82% chance to kill if I win the speed tie. If I lose the speed tie, I take a lot of chip, and that's not good. But we ball, as they say. But yeah, this thing's just here to do what it does with the revenge kills, and that has Water Pulse. If I can catch the Growlithe or the Diglett off guard with it, and if the Roly-Poly comes, U-Turn just does more than Water Pulse, so there's no reason to ever click. It's just there to catch the 2 mons off guard and hopefully kill them. Last but not least, we have Numel. Now, I noticed that he doesn't like ground type very much. He has 2 ground resists. So, yeah, we have AP for the Drifloon, and we have Flamethrower for the Toadstool. But Flamethrower doesn't kill because Toadstool is a bulky boy. I think it was without Eviolite, it doesn't even kill. So, hopefully I can pivot around or I can work around the Toadstool, and this thing can kind of come in late game, but it is going to be that simple Flame Charge to get that +2, be fast and everything else, and then just click Earth Power and do a lot of damage to a lot of things. So yeah, that's the team for this week. Hopefully going to go well. we'll see how it goes. I'm a lot more nervous about this week than last week, but I do believe that I have the battling chops to pilot this team and pick up a W. But I think it's going to be a lot harder than last week. So we'll see you guys in a battle.